Okay, here we go. All right, so I am going to be writing. Uh, Today I decided to do, well, rather, I had my Discord vote, and they decided that I was going to write some demon powers. So um, that's what we're doing today. Qiongqi's been in my head a little bit lately. I was in kind of a Final Fantasy kick for a little while during my hiatus, and so Kefka being the coolest bad guy ever to rock a Final Fantasy, and he's got some stiff competition in there. Uh, I decided that yeah, we're gonna do some Qiongqi because Qiongqi was my take on this monster is kind of inspired by about 50% Kefka and then roughly 50% Kimberry the Sea that marched against the flame. He is all chaos and disrule and misrule and disorder and all that wonderful stuff. So, what are we doing today? Today, I'm going to be actually writing down some powers for him. All of the Asura have their own little power sets. Let's see here. And I actually wrote down a lot of notes for them. Lots and lots and lots of notes. Goodness, I have like 4 versions of Shambara, I think. Shambara, I've let a lot of really raw, like, creativity dictate these guys. And so, when it came to the creative vision, sometimes that just would not, like, it just refused to gel into anything like an actual cohesive set of powers or principles that I could work with. So with Shambara, I was just like, I'm just gonna write, and whatever I write out is gonna be there. And so I'm not 100% on any version of him, but I really like the version I did eventually get. I wound up there's a sort of baroqueness, a sort of weird artifactual nature, and by artifact I don't mean like a magical relic, although I do kind of mean that. I largely mean like an artifact in a like a computer screen where there's like just this chunk that won't do what it's supposed to do. Like that's what I'm talking about, but also the mystical relic thing. There's an artifactual aspect to the way these powers wound up working, where I'd have some chunk of the vision, some little nodule of it, just really stick in my psychic craw, and it would kind of metastasize and grow in its own way. And I don't think this was an entirely healthy process, but I think that whenever you're using the powers of hell or trying to write the powers of hell, you need to expect this kind of wickedness from them. So let's see here. I actually have early drafts of Ravana's rules in here. I've got Yama's stuff. Yama is who I was previously working on. He still needs his ultimate powers written down. Um, with Yama, I think I know where he's going to go, kind of, but I really want to go back to the drawing board with his powers and add what he needs. Because right now, I think he has 3 attack or defenses in all of his powers, which is just not enough for a power set that is at least ostensibly a kung fu style. You know, if you have a kung fu style and 9/10 of it is making weird obscure laws, and you know 1/20th of it is turning into a giant graveyard bureaucracy, then like that doesn't leave you much room for punching and kicking. And I feel like those concepts needed so much. Uh, they need so much leg room and so much room within the power set that like they sort of overwhelmed the core thing that all the power sets have to be, which is a way to fight. Um, so yeah, that he's gonna need another draft, I think. I might just go in and double check. I think if every tier has an attack and defense, I'm gonna call that good, even if it makes it feel a little bare bones. He's not the fightiest of all the Ashura, so that kind of works for him. Vritra, magical cold dragon there, and there he is, my boy Qiongqi. Yeah, this is an older thing. This particular manual that I'm looking at here has survived a significant amount of abuse. Not just from me, but from circumstances. Like, you guys might note that I'm in another place now. It's because the place I had been in it flooded, like completely flooded, and like parts of it collapsed. And then once it was done flooding and they'd finally cleaned that up, then the electricity sparked out, nearly burning the place down, and it's stayed out since then. So I had to move. And then this guy survived all of that. But okay, let me see here. So I wrote all of their powers, or some early drafts of all of their powers. Yeah, there's Shambara Mark III. I think that's the latest one, so I'll probably use that one, or use that as the basic form. So, how did I? What am I doing with the Asura? Okay, I want you guys to be excited about the Asura as I am, because there's 7 of them, and they all have really big power sets, and they're kind of my Yozis. They're big, giant, catastrophe monsters, titans, whatever you want to call them. Big monster gods, like really monstrous, and they're all trapped in hell for one reason or the next. And the way they escape hell is they don't. They're way too big. The door to hell was really small and only let them in it once, and it doesn't. They can't push out, so they're stuck. But you're not stuck in hell. So they give you their powers, like legitimately the powers they use to be giant monster gods. They just are like, there you go, and then you go off and do evil in their name. And it's basically the same setup as Infernals, honestly. You're an Infernal Exalt. You do evil by using the monster god's powers, and it slowly turns you into them, which is also really cool, I think. So, I'm writing this today. The way I am going about making these powers, because that's some big nebulous ideas, right? But the way I'm making these powers is they have an additional layer. Most of the Kung Fu has Novice, Expert, Master, and then Supreme. But these have a layer after that, which is the Ultimate layer. And the Ultimate layer's whole thing is turning you into a giant landscape monster, and also letting you become a Godzilla-esque super monster. Like, giving you the same kind of, like, godlike setting-defining powers that these things have. So that's only in their highest tier. The reason for that is that means that frees up all the lower tiers, so I can introduce some things that make you like transhuman, which is a big appeal of the Infernals, is the transhuman aspect. But like I can introduce a lot of cool ideas that are transhumanistic in those if I wish to, but largely I can use them for punching and kicking. And aspects of these big monsters and like all the weird little tricks that they have. And this is going to serve a lot of different purposes. The most important purposes, the 2 most important, is that, number 1, it's going to be a fun power set that players are going to be excited about. That is the by far most important purpose. And if I had to sacrifice everything else, I would retain that purpose. That's what the Infernal book did. The Infernal book promised transhumanism, but it didn't quite deliver. It gave you like stage 1-ish transhumanism, right? Where you were still basically just a player character. And then later products would flesh that out more. They leapt a little quickly into it, I feel like. I feel like you could have layered on a couple more layers of cool stuff between, like, being a really powerful Exalt and being, like, a landscape monster. But whatever. Exalted designers aren't known for their patience, and frankly, neither am I. So the second thing they have to do, the second thing that I feel like is really important, is they have to deliver on that. They have to deliver on the whole transhuman package. You have to be able to go from guy who dabbles with demon magic to Akuma demon champion to nascent devil god to full on I am the alpha and omega god monster, landscape Godzilla demon. Like, you have to be able to do the whole thing. It's going to encompass the whole scope. So that's the second very important thing it has to do. And we kind of do that just because we layer on the core game already gives you so much power that just layering on that last layer of superpowers that turns you into, like, Godzilla landscape monster. That's really all I needed to do, really, to take it all the way. But, like, I want there to be some kind of cohesiveness with each one of these things, so they're all kind of giving you their own thing. That was one of the funnest things about the Infernals, was that each of the power sets of the Infernals was this monster god. And you got such weird, unique, bizarre powers from them. And a lot of them would strip away parts of your humanity that you just did not get back. So there was a real, I am trading my human nature for this cosmic power vibe going on. And they were really cool. Like, some of this stuff was forced on you just by being the nature of the Infernal Exalts, but, like, for real, a lot of it was, I'm going to make the decision to never sleep again, and to live my life in this weird, solipsistic nightmare, because then I don't have to sleep. That's, like, like, that's, there are so many cool powers like that, Um, I can't remember all of them. I think that was one of the ones that always stuck with me, because I really liked that particular one, because it kind of drove you crazy for its power. You just didn't get to sleep anymore, but you also didn't have to sleep anymore. I love that. So yeah, I want to have stuff like that in here too. But those are the two really big important things it has to do. The other important thing, and I consider this to be kind of the third pillar, but it's of least importance because I'm happy to sacrifice this in service of either of those first two. But the third thing that I think is really important about them, in degrees of importance, something I always keep in mind is I do want there to be that cohesiveness to what, like, there needs to be a thesis with these guys, and they need to, expand on it with their powers. So Qiongqi, the way I'm doing this creatively speaking, so now you know kind of the structure, but the way I'm filling in those boxes, and I want to kind of show you this here, and I've got them all, they've all got like a little write-up like this, but the way I'm doing it is I've got three big pillars, like concept pillars, that describe the being. Generally, and I think these all kind of have the same thing, I've got what kind of landscape they are, what their core evil thing is, like their core sin, if you will, the thing that they represent. For example, Qiongqi's is chaos, and Daido Barochi's is like sin and vice. So they all have something like that. And then I've got like a societal role, like what would they do if this was like a D&D class? And so for his is like it's a courtier. So yeah, I'm right next to an airport, by the way, so get used to like the Cessnas flying overhead. Oh my goodness. Okay. I actually did a pretty decent job of breaking all these down. Alright, so they also have a lot of powers, and the reason I gave them a lot of powers is twofold. Number one, I wanted there to be an organizational symmetry to the whole thing, and so they have more supreme techniques. They have three instead of just one, so that's kind of big. And I also gave them more expert level techniques, so that you got to be like, it almost is like shoving two-ish styles into one style. It's not quite that, but it's kind of that. And some of that was just a compromise between I want them to have a lot of powers, and I also have to complete writing this within my lifetime. so some of it's that. Like I could have doubled the master level techniques too. I didn't. I just have one of each, which I might regret. But yeah, so I've got the three pillars, and each pillar kind of has little ideas that I have that I want to include. Like, for example, with Qiongqi's chaos thing, one of the powers he should have that is a theme that's revisited within the power set is cause bad luck. That's kind of a cool one. Become invisible / cause mischief. That's an actual thing that the mythological Qiongqi does a lot. Create powerful traps. I think that's neat. I think that gives him like an indirect way of fighting that is kind of like, well, that'll have some fascinating consequences, and it's in theme. And I've also got create pandemonium space. That might be a little bit more of a landscape thing, but I don't know. I think there's room in this game for some kind of weird shenanigans such as that. So those four like ideas, those four like sub concepts, are there to inspire, inform, and direct the writing of the powers. And also, and you'll note that like within whenever I've actually got the powers like written down, I kind of have like, okay, I've got 6 novice powers, therefore I can have 2 shapeshift powers, a cause bad luck power, a defense, a social thing, and a chaos thing. So I can make sure that like at every level something is like all of those things have a little bit of time to shine. And that way you kind of have this big, robust power set that you can still make meaningful choices within whenever you're designing and building a character or whenever you're growing a character. But like it's also cohesive. Like it all coheres together into something. So that's what I'm doing today. I just reread Qiongqi's little write-up, which I think I'll make available on the Fistiverse and probably in the Patreon here not too shortly. And I was going to scoot forward to his little entry section, and you can actually see I've got a lot written here. Like I think this is all Yama. Technically, I think the next one is... No, it's Vritra. Cool, dude. That's neat. I wonder what the order was. So it should have been Vritra and then Shootin' Doji. I really want to get to Shootin' Doji. He's going to be cool. There's Shambara. I think Qiongqi is dead last. Yeah, Yamano no Orochi. No, it wasn't Daido Brochi. It was Yamano no Orochi. Okay. Yeah, there's Qiongqi. So, yeah. I'm just going to start writing. As you can see, I've got all of his powers. There's a little room for all of his powers here. And, yeah, so that's what I'm doing today. I just wanted to pop on and say hi and make a little content for you guys. Ooh, someone's talking to me. Okay, well, let's close this up. It was only about 15 minutes. That's not too bad. That's not too bad. So hopefully you have an alt tab of all of Qiongqi's powers right now, and you're checking that out, and you're on the Fistiverse and getting excited with all of my little fist heads. I gotta think of a better name. Knuckleheads? Did I call you Knuckleheads? Yeah, with all my Knuckleheads. You guys are awesome. Hopefully that's all going on while you're listening to this, and this is just some easy listening for that. So I'm gonna go ahead and fade out. Talk to you guys later.